Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday morning Mind the Moment gathering brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. This is a place where we invite experienced mindfulness instructors to speak with us about what mindfulness means to them and to discuss as a community how we can incorporate these practices into our daily lives. I'm Suzanne Rowe Palacino, and I am very happy to be here this morning with Shanti Douglas, mindfulness instructor and longtime meditator. Good morning, Shanti.
Good morning, Suzanne. So happy to be here.
It's great to have you with us this morning on this beautiful sunny morning in the East Coast. Hopefully people are seeing the sun this morning. Today we'll start off with a question as we always do for the group. And then Shanti will lead us in a guided practice. And she'll share some thoughts with us. After that, we'll have a chance for questions and comments, and we can just have a little discussion within the group. So if you can go to the bottom of your screen and open up the chat, and that will give you an opportunity to see the questions and comments coming in as real time. And you can click on the drop-down menu there that says panelists, and you can change it to panelists and attendees, and you can see all of the comments coming in. All right, so that's that. We look forward to beginning with everyone this morning. Great way to start our morning. So what question do you want to start us off with today, Shanti?
Yeah, so, I was thinking about patience as a real virtue, I find, especially in our practice, to be so important. We can sit on our cushion and get antsy and be impatient. Is it almost over yet? How much do I have left? And especially on those days that are back to back, it can feel difficult just to be right there. And then also in our life, how patience shows up, or rather, I think it's more obvious the sense of impatience that we have. The world seems to always be asking us to hurry up and wait, hurry up and keep doing more and more and more things. And that pressure that comes from that, it can, at least for me, it has me losing touch with what's really going on. In the practice of mindfulness and meditation is really to be right here with what is right here. So I wanted to ask folks, if you can think of a time that you had patience, like what benefit did you receive from cultivating patience in that moment, whether that was with your work, with your child, with yourself, which is so important to have patience with ourselves. But what benefit did you receive from kind of like stepping back and saying, okay, let me just pause, let me just be with this. And I'd love to hear from people.
Yeah, it's such a great question. The thing that when we talked about this question earlier, the thing that immediately came to my mind was my dog, and how, like you were describing, sometimes we have those days that are busier than others. I'm going to walk my dog, and he's just taking his time. And of course, I say to myself, he is just taking in all of the smells, he's doing those things that we find we sometimes forget to do. And it opens my eyes to the way I could live my life as well. So it's just kind of a nice reminder sometimes.
Yeah, I think animals are fantastic, especially dogs. They're such a great reflection, and I have an amazing dog, Suki, and she's very patient with mommy, right? She is my guiding light in being chill and being patient and just being there, while I feel like I'm running around in circles around her sometimes, or
Yeah, they are wonderful reminders.
Yeah, definitely. And somebody sharing that patience, it's hard. Yeah, it is a hard one, especially when things are just, I feel like the world has just speeded up so much over the past, decade or so, and there's constant demands. Somebody else was sharing that patience brings them peace, but it's very difficult to practice it even when I'm aware that I'm not being patient. Yeah. So we can have that metacognition of, I'm being impatient right now, but slow down. So that feeling that tussle in that comment.
Yes, yes. A greater calm. Yeah. This is the gift that mindfulness brings us, is that we notice. I mean, just noticing what someone was mentioning about being aware when I'm not patient.
Yeah,
That's
that's
a
pretty
gift.
solid. Yeah,
Totally.
that's yeah, that's a big step in the change process for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mentions patience is a virtue that I do have, and find that it's a calming force on others.
Mm,
That's a really, really good point.
yeah.
You notice, I notice that with my kids, when I'm just being more patient, it just brings people,
Just
it just
yeah,
brings the level down.
yeah, definitely. What a gift, right? So when we practice patience, it's not just for ourselves, then it's such a gift that we're giving to others, whether they're physically there or not, right? Think about patience when you're writing an email, or I mean, you're not there with them, but the words and the cadence that you're transposing is just so different.
Definitely.
Wonderful. Great insight.
And one last comment, I give myself the true gift of the moment when I'm able to be patient. Yep. Really, really good way to describe it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and the other thing with patience is, think about the trust that's in patience, right? That I'm trusting that things are going to take shape in a certain way. There's a story, and we'll get to our practice in a moment. I'm just going to share this story because it always comes up for me around patience. I think Jack Kornfield had mentioned it, or I read it from him, but there was, with the butterflies in the chrysalis, and especially when you're a little kid and you have them in the jar and you're waiting and waiting and you look every day, what's going on with the butterfly and is it going to finally open? And this person had that jar and just couldn't wait anymore. And all of a sudden one day found that it was cracking open and he was so excited. And he reached in and picked it up and blew on it and to warm it with his breath, and the butterfly opened and it was magnificent and beautiful. And then it died, right? Because the element of changing its innate conditions, right? It changed that whole process for the butterfly and it wasn't ready yet. So I often see with patience or impatience, what's here that I'm trying to push that isn't ready for me to show up with it, right? There's some element somewhere that's saying, hey, just pause right now. It's okay that you're not going so quickly. And it's probably better, like if you ever have those days where you get every single red light, one after the other, it's like life is coming in saying, no, it's better for you to just slow down because you're going so quickly. So I appreciate the patience in the red lights even. And that might be even something that I can invite you to practice with later on this week.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. So let's do a little practice here with patience. I'm going to invite you to come into a comfortable posture and maybe even just rotating your shoulders back and around a few times to release some of that tension or holding you might have in your neck or your back, in your head. If you'd like to, you can close your eyes or just create a soft haze gaze, whatever feels comfortable for you. And relaxing the belly. Relaxing the belly. Relaxing the body. Letting your arms and your hands be in a comfortable position. We're going to focus on the breath today. And instead of being prescribed with the breath, which means that we're purposely moving it at a certain rate or depth, my invitation is to simply have the breath breathe on its own, have the body breathe as it may. And our directive in this, and it's a very light and invitational directive, is to simply notice, to really tune in to being that ultimate observer of the breath in the body. Without taking any action related to the breathing, except for observation. And one of the magical things about the body is that it knows how to care for itself. It knows the best rate and depth of breath for whatever the conditions are. And as the observer of all of this, we can appreciate the miracle of the breath in the body. Settling into patience as we're present. Patience to notice the breath as it arrives into the body. Where it moves. Patience as the breath in the body decides to exhale. And definitely patience and lots of curiosity whenever the body decides to take the next breath in. And whenever you find that you might be trying to move the breath along or to pick that breath up before it's time, see if you can step back and add in some relaxation to your presence, cultivating that trust that comes with being patient, trusting the body, trusting the breath, trusting the process of this part of life. Just noticing how it feels to be patient in this moment. In a whole-bodied way. And actively remembering this patience and how it feels. And now turning gently the corners of your mouth up into a smile, small smile or a big smile of gratitude and appreciation for you, for your practice, for knowing that the benefits that you've received will move to all others. So as we practice patience with ourselves, we benefit others as well. Whenever it feels right, you can refocus your gaze or open your eyes. And I'd love to hear any reflections from that.
Thank you, Shanti.
Yeah.
I have one. I really like how you said that the breath knows the conditions, what the conditions are, and how to, to titrate itself. You didn't specifically say that, but how the breath knows what the conditions are and what the body needs at that time. And I just feel like there's so many things we can learn from our bodies. And that really, that was like very poignant to me. Like, you know what? We don't have to slow it down. We don't have to speed up the breath. It knows what we need at that moment in time. And it's pretty amazing.
It's a miracle for sure. It's definitely. Yeah. And getting familiar with how it knows. So we can tune into, especially when we're having that rough or edgy or rocky day, we just tune in to the body. We move from here to this and listen and say, okay, what is it that you need? What are you trying to show me? How am I right now? Right. That first step is always that awareness. So I really love that, that insight and that awareness.
Mhm. Someone made a comment that they love that you mentioned having trust in your patients. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah, because we get our fingers, just like with that example of the butterfly, we're inserting our impatience into things. Yet the process of life is there, right? That trust, like we're gonna land. We're gonna land at some point. And I find, at least for me, that I land a lot safer and better and more grounded when I'm not, like the jackrabbit going around. I can just keep walking on, keep moving.
Mhm. Yeah, and someone's mentioned it's a challenge to observe the breath without exerting control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Even, yeah, it is. That's why I love to play with that. I love to play with that practice that we just did, because it shows me how engaged I am and how over engaged I can be. And noticing again the process of the breath and how it moves in our body. That when I'm in a more relaxed position, or I'm feeling that trust or that safety, there's such a big gap between my exhalation and my inhalation. It just is really big. And then the body is so interesting for me to observe when the body somehow just decides, okay, time to kind of fill back up again.
Mhm.
And I also find that to be a really great training tool for our mind, because we are churning so much. We're going, this, that, all over the place. And to bring in the mind as an observer of the spaciousness, it starts to um, teach the mind that spaciousness is okay, that I can trust, that I can feel safe having space, that it doesn't always need to be filled. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely. I guess sometimes you think about even in our day-to-day lives and conversation, and if there's a lull in the conversation, and many times we try to fill that, and
That can
and
be the sweet spot.
yeah, that may lead to idle, just idle chatter
Yeah,
versus, if you sit back and you think, okay,
I'm right here with you. Yeah,
the next thing I want to say, and is, do I need to really fill that void,
yeah,
just take in what you just said, rather than, you ever have those conversations where you feel like someone is already thinking about what they're going to say next versus,
yeah,
wow, just really listening. So
yeah.
you're
Yeah,
right.
if you look at the pause in communication, that is, I think that's the crux of that communication, of like, I've really seen you, I've heard you, I've taken that in, adding that patience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's true. With the person that was mentioning how challenging it is when we're sitting to not exert control over the breath. I even feel like sometimes our posture is helpful. If we're kind of like, we're sitting forward, we're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this meditation. It's going to be really good. Just kind of sitting back and saying, okay, here I am. Like people say, let the breath come to you.
Yeah.
Always easy.
What's going to show up today? You know? Yeah. And I think that really ties into curiosity, which is a huge part of the practice of mindfulness and meditation, right? Adding that curiosity of like, yeah, I wonder yeah, let me just be here with it, right? Being in the present moment is really an act of patience. Without that, and there's many gradients of patience, right? There's that, pushing it away, really working at it, but eventually we're just we're so organically patient with things. We don't even realize that we're patient. We're just so completely there.
Mm.
So it's a fun practice. I've been working with patience, impatience, coming from the impatient place to move towards patience for 3 years now. I would say about like actively practicing patience.
Mm-hmm.
Traffic and technology are my two best teaching tools. So yeah, my invitation to folks, I know we're almost done, but my invitation to folks over the next, week or so is notice when impatience rises and how can we step back and add in the quality of patience to that. And you might want to pick your 1 or 2 things that sort of poke you into the impatient realm and add in playfulness with that, right? Like, I think it's really important to add in playfulness with this practice and see how we can just step it down a little bit, turn it down a little bit, be there more in a more enriching way with it and see what happens, see what shows up.
Yeah, that's great. That takes us into the next couple of days and gives us something to really consider. So thank you so much, Shanti, for your guidance and for your for the discussion and just for your words of wisdom. We really appreciate you being here this morning.
It's always so much fun. Yeah.
Thank you so much for everyone joining and for the discussion. And someone has really connected to the patience and playfulness comment. So wonderful. We're really grateful for all of you being here, and we look forward to seeing you towards the end of the week as well, as Tara Healy will be back here on Thursdays. As you know, we're here every Tuesday and Thursday morning at 8:30. So thank you again for joining, and we will see you again soon. Thanks again, Shanti, for being here. See you soon.
Stay well.
Okay, bye-bye.